Hello, everyone. Every time I meet people who are learning English, there's one common fear they all share: the fear of speaking. You can understand the grammar, you can read books, you can even write beautifully in English. But the moment you open your mouth to speak, something strange happens. Your mind freezes, your tongue feels heavy, your heart starts racing, and you suddenly forget every single word you've learned. Has this ever happened to you? If yes, you're not alone. In fact, it happens to millions of people all around the world. Even here in the United States, where English is the native language, many immigrants and even born citizens feel nervous speaking in front of others. Why? Because the fear of speaking English isn't really about English. It's about how we think about ourselves. Today, I want to talk about this deeply. Not just why we fear speaking English, but also on how to fix it completely. Step by step, from your mind to your daily habits. By the end of this video, I promise you'll not only understand your fear, but you'll know exactly what to do to overcome it. But before we start, I want to ask you two simple questions. First, when was the last time you wanted to say something in English, but stopped yourself because you were afraid of making a mistake? And second, if fear didn't exist, how would your life change if you could speak English freely and confidently anywhere in the world? Think about those two questions and share your answers in the comments below, because your story might inspire someone else who's going through the same thing. Now let's dive deep into the truth behind this fear. Acteur de la first. 1. Where does the fear of speaking English come from? The fear of speaking English doesn't start when you try to speak. It starts long before that, in your mind. Most people begin learning English with a sense of comparison. You hear a native speaker talk, and instantly your brain says, "I can't sound like that." You listen to your friends speak confidently, and you feel smaller inside. You remember your school days, when teachers corrected every tiny mistake, and you started to believe that mistakes are bad. That's where fear begins. Not in your mouth, but in your memory. When you were a child, you didn't fear speaking your first language. You just talked. You made grammar mistakes, pronunciation mistakes, and even invented words. But no one laughed at you. Everyone encouraged you. That's why you learned to speak your native language fluently, because there was no fear. But when it comes to English, we're surrounded by judgment. In school, maybe someone laughed at your accent. At work, someone said your English wasn't good enough. Or maybe you compared yourself to native speakers on YouTube and felt like you could never reach that level. Slowly, fear became your habit. So remember this truth. The fear of speaking English is not a language problem. It's an emotional memory problem. 2. What fear does to your mind and body. When you're afraid to speak English, it's not just nervousness. It's actually a biological reaction. Your brain enters what psychologists call the panty fight or flight mode. When you try to speak and worry about mistakes, your brain thinks you're in danger. Not from a tiger, but from embarrassment. Your amygdala, the emotional center of your brain, sends signals that cause your heartbeat to rise, your palms to sweat, and your voice to shake. That's why your mind goes blank. Not because you don't know English, but because your brain is protecting you from what it thinks is danger, judgment, or failure. Once you understand that fear is just your brain's way of keeping you safe, you can start to take control. You can tell yourself, it's okay, I'm not in danger. I'm just practicing. Dakanlara. 3. The 3 biggest fears behind the fear of speaking English. There are 3 hidden fears behind this fear, and almost everyone has them. 1. The fear of mistakes. You think, what if I say something wrong, or what if they laugh? But here's a secret. Native speakers make mistakes too. They use wrong grammar, they forget words, they mispronounce things. The only difference is they don't care. They just keep talking. You must remember, mistakes are proof that you are learning. Every mistake brings you one step closer to fluency. The fear of judgment. This is a big one. You imagine people are judging your accent, your vocabulary, or your speed. But 90% of people are too busy thinking about themselves to judge you. And the ones who judge? They're not your people. People who truly speak confidently don't do it to show off. They do it to connect. Real communication isn't about perfection. It's about connection. 3. The fear of forgetting. Many learners freeze because they suddenly can't recall words. But that's normal. Even native speakers pause and say, what was that word? The difference is, they keep speaking. Fluency doesn't mean never forgetting. It means continuing naturally even when you do. 4. How schools accidentally create fear. Think about your first English class. The teacher probably started with grammar rules, tenses, and textbook exercises. But very few schools teach speaking confidence. You were trained to write correctly, not to speak naturally. So when you speak, your brain automatically checks grammar first, instead of letting your thoughts flow. That constant checking slows you down and increases anxiety. In the US, many language institutes are now changing this. They focus on conversation clubs, pronunciation games, and natural dialogues. Because research shows that our confidence grows through speaking, not through studying. Nakeksarak 5. The social pressure around English. In many countries, English isn't just a language. It's a status symbol. Speaking English fluently makes people think you're educated, smart, or successful. So we start associating English with identity and self-worth. That's why, when you make a mistake, you don't just feel wrong, you feel less than. But English is just a tool. It's not a test of your intelligence. If you can express love, ideas, and emotions, you already have what matters most. Language is just the bridge, not the destination. In cities like New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles, you'll hear hundreds of accents every single day. Spanish, Indian, Chinese, Arab, Russian. And everyone still communicates beautifully. Fluency is not about sounding American. It's about being understood confidently. 6. The psychology of fear and confidence. Let's get a little scientific. Psychologists say fear is learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. If your brain associates English speaking with embarrassment, We can reprogram it to associate English with fun, curiosity, and growth. You can do this by creating positive speaking experiences. For example, talk to a kind friend who encourages you. Record yourself and celebrate even small progress. Speak in front of the mirror and smile when you do. These little positive moments tell your brain, hey, speaking English is safe. It's not scary anymore. Over time, fear fades away naturally. 7. The role of confidence, the secret ingredient. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you build. Think about driving. The first time you drove a car, you were nervous. You checked every mirror, moved slowly, and feared crashing. But after weeks of practice, you didn't even think about it. You just drove. English is exactly like that. Confidence comes after practice, not before. You don't need to wait until you're confident to speak. You need to speak to become confident. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. 8. The real reason. Some people learn faster. Have you ever noticed that some people seem to improve in English much faster than others, even though they study less? The reason is simple. They don't fear mistakes. They speak freely, laugh at errors, and correct themselves with pride. When you remove fear, your brain opens up. It listens better, remembers more, and responds faster. That's why kids learn faster, because they're fearless. You can do the same by playing with English instead of fighting it. 9. How to fix the fear. Step by step. Now let's talk about how to fix it completely. Here's a full roadmap that has helped thousands of learners. Step 1. Accept that you will make mistakes. This is the foundation. If you try to be perfect, you'll never start. Tell yourself every day, mistakes are my teachers. Even native speakers in the US say, oops, that didn't sound right. So why should you be afraid? Asar, step 2. Speak small, speak daily. Don't wait for big moments like interviews or meetings. Start small. Talk to yourself in English while cooking, driving, or walking. Say simple things like, I'm making breakfast. It's a beautiful morning. I need to finish my work. The goal is to make English a part of your life, not a subject. Step 3. Find a speaking partner. Join online English communities or language cafes in your city. In the US, there are many free English conversation clubs in libraries, universities, or even coffee shops. Talking with real people helps you break the mental wall. Step 4. Record yourself. This one is powerful. When you record and listen, you realize your English isn't as bad as you think. You also start noticing what to improve: pronunciation, pace, or expression. Over time, your voice becomes your teacher. Step 5. Practice thinking in English. The biggest reason people freeze is that they try to translate while speaking. Translation slows your brain, so start practicing thoughts directly in English. For example, instead of mujhe pani chahiye, I want water. Just think, I want water. It takes time, but once your brain adjusts, Speaking becomes natural. Step 6. Build vocabulary. Emotionally, don't memorize random word lists. Learn words through context and emotion. If you love music, learn English through lyrics. If you love food, learn through recipes. Emotion makes memory stronger. Step 7. Focus on communication, not grammar. Fluency isn't grammar-perfect sentences. It's natural connection. Native speakers care more about understanding you than judging your grammar. Say it simply, say it honestly, and you'll always be respected. Step 8. Join English surroundings. If you're in the US, go out. Talk to baristas, ask directions, chat with neighbors. Every little conversation builds real confidence. If you live elsewhere, surround yourself digitally. Podcasts, YouTube, Netflix, English radio. Make your brain swim in English. Step 9. Learn relaxation before speaking. Before speaking, breathe deeply. Relax your shoulders. Remind yourself, this is just communication. You're not being tested. You're sharing. Confidence is calm energy. Practice staying calm before every conversation. Step 10. Celebrate progress. You spoke 2 sentences today? Celebrate it. You had your first English call? Celebrate it. Progress is progress, no matter how small. Every celebration tells your brain that you're growing. 10. Stories that prove it works. Let me tell you a small story. Maria, a Mexican woman living in Texas, used to avoid speaking English at work. She understood everything, but fear stopped her from replying. One day, her manager told her, "You know, you understand English better than most. You just need to trust your voice." So she started recording herself daily, 1 minute a day. In 3 months, she gave her first English presentation, shaking but smiling, and everyone applauded. Fear didn't disappear overnight, but it got smaller every time she spoke. There's also Ahmed from Egypt, who worked in a New York restaurant. He used to fear customers laughing at his accent, but one customer told him, "I love your accent. It's part of your story." That moment changed him. He realized accent is not a weakness. It's identity. 11. Understanding the accent issue. Accent fear is another big reason people stay silent. You might think, my accent is too strong, or people won't understand me. But America is full of accents. There's no single American English. You'll hear Southern accents in Texas, New York accents, Californian tones, all different. So don't chase a perfect accent. Chase clarity. Speak slowly, open your mouth clearly, and your words will carry confidence. 12. Building emotional strength. To fix fear, you must build emotional strength. Tell yourself, I'm not learning English to impress anyone. I'm learning to express myself. That single mindset changes everything. The more you speak, the more your brain realizes that nothing bad happens. People don't laugh. They listen. The fear melts slowly. Remember, bravery is not the absence of fear. It's speaking even when you're afraid. 13. Turning fear into motivation. Every time you feel fear, don't run from it. Use it. Fear means you care. It means you want to do well. So when fear shows up, say, "Okay, fear, I see you. Let's speak anyway." The more you do this, the less control fear has over you. Nakwa 4:14. The power of daily English conversations. Make English a lifestyle. Talk to your pet in English. Order food in English. Ask for help in English. Every small conversation is practice. When you make English part of your daily routine, you don't study English anymore. You live English. And living English is how fluency happens. 16. Fear is a story. You tell yourself, every fear starts as a story in your head. You say things like, "What if I forget words? What if they laugh at me? What if I sound stupid?" But here's the truth. None of those things have actually happened yet. It's all imagination. You're creating a negative movie in your head, and your brain believes it's real. So the first step to overcoming fear is changing the story. Instead of saying, "What if I fail?" say, "What if I improve?" Instead of saying, "What if they laugh?" say, "What if they like me?" Your brain believes what you tell it most often. So speak positively to yourself. Your words shape your confidence. 17. The hidden enemy. Self-judgment. Let's be honest. Sometimes the biggest critic is not other people. It's you. You judge your accent. You criticize your pronunciation. You compare your English to others. You become your own enemy. But imagine if you talk to yourself the way you talk to a friend. If your friend made a mistake, would you laugh? Number. You'd say, "It's okay, keep going." So do the same for yourself. Speak kindly to yourself. Confidence begins with self-compassion. I remember one day at a coffee shop in Los Angeles, a man from Vietnam ordered coffee and accidentally said, "I want a cup of coffee." The barista smiled and said, "You mean coffee?" And they both laughed. But instead of feeling embarrassed, the man laughed with her and said, "Yes, coffee?" My English is learning that moment was beautiful because he didn't take his mistake personally. He turned it into connection. That's the key. Stop judging yourself. Start enjoying yourself. 18. The power of curiosity. Fear and curiosity cannot live together. When you become curious, fear loses its power. So instead of worrying about your English, get curious about it. Ask questions like, how do native speakers say this phrase? What's the difference between say and tell? How do Americans actually use slang in real life? When you turn fear into curiosity, English becomes an adventure instead of a test. In the US, many confident non-native speakers became fluent because they were endlessly curious. They didn't hide from conversations. They started them. Try it. Ask questions in English whenever you can. In stores, at work, online. Curiosity is courage in disguise. Safartet 19. Fear disappears when you have a purpose. Here's a deep truth. Fear can't survive where purpose lives. When your reason for speaking English is strong enough, fear loses control. If you're learning English just to sound good, you'll always feel pressure. But if you're learning English to get a better job, to travel the world, to connect with people, to express your ideas, suddenly English becomes meaningful. Think about this. A mother doesn't fear speaking when she needs to protect her child. A doctor doesn't fear speaking when saving a life. Why? Because purpose is stronger than fear. So ask yourself, why do I want to speak English? Write it down, read it every day, make your purpose your power. 20. Real-life example. Carlos's journey. Let me share a real story about Carlos, a delivery driver from Texas. Carlos moved from Mexico to the U.S. at 23. He could understand English but always avoided speaking. Whenever customers spoke to him, he'd just nod and smile. Inside, he felt small, like his voice didn't matter. One day, a little boy at a restaurant asked him, "Why don't you talk?" That question hit his heart. He realized he wasn't silent because he didn't know English. He was silent because he was afraid of being judged. So he started a simple routine. Every day, he talked to one stranger. Just one. Sometimes it was, "Nice weather today." Sometimes it was, "I like your car." Sometimes it was just, "Have a good day." After 2 months, he could hold short conversations confidently. After 6 months, he got promoted to customer service. Carlos said something powerful. Fear didn't disappear when I learned English. It disappeared when I started using it. Yeah. 21. The connection between mindset and mouth. Have you ever noticed that when you're relaxed, English flows better? But when you're nervous, your tongue gets stuck. That's because your mouth speaks what your mind feels. If your mind says, "I'm not good enough," your mouth hesitates. If your mind says, "I'm learning and growing," your mouth opens freely. So next time you speak, take a deep breath and remind yourself, "I'm not here to impress. I'm here to express." Your brain and mouth work together. Give them positive permission. 22. Overcoming stage fear or public speaking fear. Many people fear speaking English not just in conversations but in front of groups. Maybe at work, school, or meetings. Let me tell you a secret. Even native speakers fear public speaking. In fact, studies in the U.S. show that speaking in public is the #1 fear, even before fear of death. So, if you feel nervous, you're completely normal. Here's how to fix it. Practice your topic out loud several times alone. Focus on your message, not yourself. Before speaking, smile and take a deep breath. Look at one friendly face in the audience and speak as if talking only to them. And remember, people want you to succeed. They're not your enemies. They're your listeners. Tsapa 23. Daily English Confidence Exercises. Now let's talk about more practical exercises you can do every day to reprogram your brain and build fearless English speaking habits. Exercise 1. Mirror talk. Every morning, stand in front of the mirror. Look at yourself and say in English, "Good morning. Today I'm going to speak confidently." Then talk for 1 minute about your plans for the day. This builds eye contact and self-trust. Exercise 2. Daily voice notes. Record a 60-second voice note every day in English. Talk about what you did, what you learned, or how you feel. Over time, listen back. You'll be amazed by your improvement. Exercise 3. 3 new words, 3 sentences. Learn 3 new words daily and use them immediately in sentences. For example, I appreciate your help. The weather is unpredictable. Let's collaborate on that project. This keeps your vocabulary alive. Exercise 4. English Thought Journal. Before sleeping, write 5 sentences in English about your day. It trains your mind to think in English naturally. Exercise 5. Random English chat. Start small talk in real life. Ask your barista, "How's your day going?" Or ask a coworker, "Did you watch that game last night?" Small talk builds big confidence. 24. Changing environment and habits. Your environment affects your learning more than you think. If you're surrounded by people who speak your native language all the time, your brain stays in comfort mode. But when you create an English environment, through music, podcasts, movies, and even phone settings, your brain begins to adapt automatically. In New York, you'll find immigrants who speak amazing English not because they studied books, but because they lived in English. They heard it daily, used it daily, and eventually, they stopped fearing it. So turn your world into a small English zone. 25. Social media and fear of judgment. Let's be real. Social media can make fear worse. You see perfect English speakers on TikTok or YouTube, and you feel like your English is broken. But remember, what you see online is performance, not reality. Nobody shows their mistakes on camera. Everyone edits. Everyone practices. So stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. You are learning. You are growing. You're not late. In fact, if you post a small English video online, even if it's not perfect, that's courage most people never show. 26. The power of supportive people. Confidence grows faster in a positive environment. If you have friends or family who laugh when you speak English, don't take it personally and don't stop. Find new people, supportive ones, who motivate you. In every U.S. city, there are English language meetups, Toastmasters clubs, and online communities where learners help each other. When you share your journey with people who understand, fear becomes friendship. 27. How to handle negative comments or laughter. This is important. Sometimes people will laugh, not because they're mean, but because they're surprised or insecure themselves. Here's how to handle it. Smile and say, "Hey, I'm learning. I'll get better." Confidence disarms negativity. When you don't react with anger or shame, you win. Remember, nobody can make you feel small without your permission. 28. Emotional reprogramming. Talking to your inner self. This may sound strange, but talk to your fear like a person. Say, "Hey fear, I know you're trying to protect me, but I don't need you right now. I'm safe." This kind of inner conversation changes your emotion instantly. You go from victim to master. Fear loses its grip when you acknowledge it without obeying it. 29. Using visualization to overcome fear. Visualization is a powerful psychological tool. Close your eyes and imagine yourself speaking English confidently. Your posture, your smile, your tone, your words flowing easily. Feel the pride, the peace, the joy. Your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So when you visualize confidence repeatedly, your brain starts believing it, and your body follows. 30. Turning practice into play. When learning feels serious, fear grows. But when it feels fun, fear disappears. Watch English comedy shows, play English games, sing along to English songs, or mimic movie dialogues. Have fun with the language. One of the most effective exercises is shadowing. Repeating lines from movies or podcasts immediately after hearing them. It improves pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency naturally. Make English your playground, not your punishment. Naraker 31. How to reset. After a bad experience. Sometimes you'll have a bad speaking experience. You'll forget words, get nervous, or freeze. That's normal. But don't let one bad moment define your progress. When that happens, write it down. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this? How can I improve next time? Then speak again. Fear fades faster when you face it again immediately. Failure is feedback, not final. Narafa 32. How native speakers actually think. Many learners believe that native speakers are always judging them. But ask any American. They love hearing accents. It shows diversity and courage. They care more about what you say than how you say it. And most of them admire anyone who learns another language, because English itself is hard. So stop fearing native speakers. See them as practice partners, not judges. Hakura 33. The 80-20 rule of speaking English. Here's a golden rule. You don't need perfect English to be confident. In real life, 80% of communication is body language, tone, and emotion. Only 20% is grammar. If your face, gestures, and voice show confidence, people will understand you, even if your grammar isn't perfect. So focus more on expression than perfection. 34. The gift. Hidden inside fear. Let's look at fear differently. Fear means you care. Fear means you want to improve. Fear means you have a dream. Without fear, there's no growth. So instead of hating your fear, thank it. It's your teacher. It's showing you what matters. Every time you face it, you evolve. Nachir 35. The real definition of fluency. Fluency isn't about speaking fast or using fancy words. Fluency means you can express your ideas clearly, comfortably, and confidently, even if you make mistakes. A fluent speaker is not someone who speaks perfectly. It's someone who speaks naturally. So aim for natural, not perfect. There's one final truth. Nothing beats consistency. You can watch 100 videos, but if you don't practice daily, fear will stay. Every day, talk. Even 5 minutes is enough. Remember, consistency beats intensity. One small step daily is better than one big leap monthly. Nastir As 37. A final story to inspire you. Let me end with a true story about a woman named Anjali who moved from India to Chicago. She was an engineer, brilliant at her job, but terrified to speak English in meetings. One day, her boss said, "You're smart, Anjali, but people need to hear you." That night, she cried, not because of insult, but realization. She promised herself, "I'll speak, even if my voice shakes." For the next year, she practiced every day. She joined English conversation groups, recorded her voice, and spoke up in small ways, like saying, "Good morning," or "Nice idea." 1 year later, she gave a presentation in front of 50 people. Her hands were shaking, but her heart was steady. When she finished, everyone clapped. That moment wasn't about perfect English. It was about courage. She said later, "I still make mistakes, but now I make them in English, and that's victory." Number 38. Final motivation. So my dear friend, if you're watching this, don't let fear silence your voice. You've worked too hard, learned too much, and dreamed too big to stay quiet. Your English doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be yours. Speak from your heart. Speak with honesty. Speak even if you tremble. Because the only way to overcome fear is to walk straight through it. And one day, you'll look back and smile, thinking, "Why was I ever afraid?" So tell me in the comments below, have you ever stopped yourself from speaking English because of fear? And what is one thing you'll start doing today to overcome it? Let's grow together, one fearless sentence at a time.